for Elijah down at the brook, and there allowed him to lay in the cool shade and drink from the brook of the cool running water.
Peace and blessings. It's your boy James Anthony, and as we learn together, we define limitless. Today we have Patrick Riley, CEO of Reaper.Financial, back with us for our weekly catch-up. We wanted to just touch base with him and check in with how the airdrop is gone and what's on the agenda for Reaper.Financial. But before we do that, let's kind of briefly go over, for maybe folks who are just tuning in for the first time, what Reaper.Financial is and what you guys do.
Great. So Reaper.Financial is a blockchain financial services company, and we have two different products. Our first product, Reaper, goes out and purchases other tokens as voted on by our holders, and we destroy them permanently. We also pay a passive income, and in the near future, we will be reaping individuals' debts. They'll be able to have their mortgage, student loans, house, car, anything paid off by us on their behalf. And then our second product, Ascension, is basically a market maker that is done by the people. So we allow certain tokens that have met a very high standard to ascend into a hard slot for Ascension. Once the tokens reach a hard slot, what we do is with the Ascension sale, we use those funds to go out and purchase the hard slots relative to their vote by Reaper holders. And we use the tokens purchased to distribute to all Ascension holders. So an Ascension holder receives airdrops of currently 11 other tokens. And some of those tokens also have additional tokens they pay in. So in total, the ecosystem involves 17 tokens that you become involved with simply for holding Ascension. And with that, we're able to assist the projects to prevent them from becoming stagnant. So all of the Ascension token holders are consistently getting new movement. And even if they sell, that means that people who have buy orders, those have now filled, and we're allowing that token to basically saturate the market slowly and strategically because it has met a high standard.
Why don't you kind of break down for us what block oversight is, because that's kind of the governing body, right? So this is kind of like a centralized authority for a decentralized ecosystem, right?
Sure, absolutely. So Block Oversight is the Blockchain Leadership Oversight Council. It's a 501c3 out of Austin, Texas as well, and is completely non-monetized with no dues or fees. What we do is we basically screen projects for quality, which includes a audit. The project must adhere to the constitution of the block, in which we recognize the rights owed to all blockchain product consumers. And they must also adhere to the code of conduct, the values, and the bylaws of the organization. Once they've passed onboarding and auditing, they are basically pipelined into Ascension, should they decide to take that as a part of their tokenomics for their project.
Not that this is financial advice, nor are we financial advisors, right? But what Patrick is essentially doing is he's creating an environment where we can now trust, right? We always promote doing our own research, right? But not everybody has the kind of time that other folks may have. And so by creating this rigorous scrutinizing set of standards, you know that any project on this list has already gone through some checks and balances, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So every project that makes it into Block Oversight as a member is a project that is fully doxed. They have white paper tokenomics, governance roadmaps. We've also ensured that there's been a background check on their company. They have a letter of good standing on their EIN or their registration for a LLC or a 501c3 or a sole proprietorship or something of that nature for their country of origin. And basically we have said that this is a company that is competently attempting to do things the right way, and they are adhering to what is owed to the consumer by being transparent and providing annual reports. So this is a standards organization for the blockchain in a way that we are not forcing anybody to adhere to these standards. However, those who do adhere to these standards will be set apart from the rest.
Are there some that they've met the standards first, but then they can fall out of grace?
They could certainly fall out of grace if they did something that was immoral, unethical, illegal, or if they started to do something that we suspected was not in keeping with the values of the block. And it is a voting organization, so the members of the block and the board of the block could at any time call an emergency hearing or a ethics review on a project and vote them out at any time. And although I am appointed as the chairman of the block by vote, I could myself be voted out of the block at any time.
Have there been any projects that have so far?
So Extreme was never a block member, just to clarify that. They had made it into a hard slot. So currently the block is not launched. We launch on 3 December. Once it does launch, there'll be a 45-day grace period for those tokens that are currently hard slotted to be fully block compliant. Some of those tokens are already block members and some are not. But with Extreme, that was a situation where their token had a holding of Reaper that was specifically for reaping Extreme, and they were eligible for reaping. So that was our previous criteria. As soon as block launches, our criteria is going to elevate to the blocks.
Is there like a certain amount of time that each project gets to run? Can they stay on indefinitely? And if they do come off, do those rewards still continue, or do the rewards stop when they come off the hard slot?
So the only reason they would come off the hard slot is if either there was some manner of ethical violation in which we could no longer recognize the quality of that project, or if there was more than 20 projects and we would have to basically select which of those projects we could put on the voting list for now. Once we have launched our new debt reaping app on our website, basically we'll be able to add as many hard slots as apply and qualify. So there could at some time be 100 different tokens being airdropped to ASC holders.
Do you see that possible, like that being a possibility, there being 100, 150 hard slot projects in the future?
Yes, absolutely. So out of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, there's currently around 30,000 different cryptocurrencies out there. And I would say out of that, maybe 500 of them are legitimate good actors that mean well and are doing things by the right way. So I would compare that to the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones, in which it's basically a basket of this is the best opportunity in the space. And that is what we're trying to provide.
Wow, that is awesome. That would be the only way a project would come off, would be some kind of, if they weren't reaching that criteria that they initially met in order to get on, that would be like the only reason why they would come off.
That's correct. So if there was any sort of ethical violation, they could very easily be pulled. But if they are compliant with all block standards, then they will stay on the hard slot.
And these organizations know that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the 10 hard slots that are on now, they are, will all 10 of them be part of the block?
So currently Treasury, Zoj, Schmeckles, and Additions are all block members already. FSC, Xquake, Astrals, and XR Doge have all expressed interest in elevating to a block status. So we, as well as StakeX, sorry, I missed StakeX. So they're all going to work to achieve that, and I suspect they all will. If for some reason one doesn't, it's no hard feelings, but they will be rejected from continuing as a hard slot at the point that they are rejected from the block.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why somebody would want to come off. I mean, it's an ideal situation, right? Because you're bringing You're bringing awareness to their project. You're bringing new, fresh eyes to the project. I mean, and it works in tandem. That's what I like about the whole system. There's a balance, right? There's a balance with the Reaper to the Ascension. There's a balance with the hard slots to Reaper. Like it all works in tandem. So yeah, good on you. Debt reaping will take some funds away from token by pressure and burning. Ascension will help the hard slot tokens continue getting by pressure, volume, and putting tokens in the hands of many wise investors in the Reaper community.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. So I would also say that as debt reaping launches, value of RPR will probably respond to that. And even if the amount of the vote that goes towards other tokens decreases, the value is probably not going to decrease substantially.
That is awesome. It really is. And folks, it's important that you understand, because for myself, I thought personally that I needed to have every one of these assets. And so I went out and I spent a couple $100 on each one of them just to have, because I thought that the rain comes in proportion to how much of the asset you hold. And it's not. It's only in proportion to how much Ascension you hold. So technically you just need to hold the trust lines, and then it's on you to whether you want to invest further into the project and create a compound effect. Ultimately, that's what it is, a compound effect, right?
Exactly. And compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, right? So almost all of these tokens have the ability to compound, including StakeX, where you can stake about half of the other tokens. Zoj pays out passively in SNX or SNAX, as well as occasionally in PAW. Treasury pays out in Utilex, which is a utility token that's for venture startup and for academy. And so we're able to interlace all of these. So that's where we call it super staking, is by simply holding Ascension, you're able to get rain and then drip. And with that, you're going to have 17 different tokens that you're able to passively stake with a decentralized self-custodial wallet to compound that interest. So in a staking scenario, this is effectively super staking, and it's much safer than staking on an exchange where you're no longer in control or ownership of your funds,
or even a smart contract for that matter, where you're constantly worrying about whether or not there's some kind of hack or vulnerability within that smart contract network, right? So yeah, no doubt. What about StakeX? Do you guys have any additional plans to do additional rewards through StakeX?
We do. So we've allocated 4.8 million ASC to be part of a StakeX pool, and that will be hosted with StakeX, where basically by staking your ASC that you receive or hold in the drip, you'll also get ASC payment. It will be 100,000 ASC distributed across all stakers per month for 4 years. But with that pool is also going to collect the passive rain from the drips. So all tokens then become passive stakeable based off what's in that pool. So you'll be getting daily rewards, not just with every Ascension.
What about Bitrue? You got something cooking for them too?
We are planning to list Ascension on Bitrue. So we're not a big fan of centralized exchanges. Most of them want market makers that they'll charge the project to run a market maker that fakes volume and hurts the investors, right? So we deny that. We denied it with Reaper, which is why our volume on Bitrue is low if you look at it, because that's what actual volume looks like in most projects. But we will get on there so that we have the CoinMarketCap tracking and that type of listing. And then we are currently planning stage and building our own exchange, which will be 12 to 18 months out.
What's the name of that exchange?
River Sticks.
I'm also looking for those StakeX pools. When will that Ascension pool come out?
So that should be 1 to 2 weeks. We're just waiting on a contract from StakeX. As soon as they get that to us and have the wallet set up, we can get that started.
So basically, the pair will be Ascension and StakeX.
There'll be Ascension StakeX and then also StakeX to all of the other tokens that are in the pool.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And then why don't you talk about that river sticks? Yeah.
So the River Styx is the concept for our exchange, which we have a separate LLC for that. It'll be based out of North Dakota due to certain banking environmental laws for North Dakota. Basically, I'll put it this way: the largest companies we know today is Uber that has no cars, and Netflix that has no movie studio, and you have Google that doesn't charge for using it. You have Twitter, you have Facebook. The majority of the biggest companies have some element of them that are free and or low overhead and do not, they don't ask for anything, but basically they're selling your data, right? They're selling you're the product, and they're allowing it to be free. So the River Styx is going to work along those lines in a more altruistic manner, but you'll be able to set up an account with the River Styx, and simply by KYCing and connecting your bank account with the agreement and understanding that we will be able to aggregate that data for marketing sales without disclosing your personally identifiable information, we will be able to pay you simply for having an account, as in it will be profit sharing from the exchange itself going towards the account holders. So with that, we should be able to effectively dominate the exchange market and kick out a lot of the bad actors that are out there.
Wow. So you're doing basically what everybody's doing, but you're being transparent about it. And the money you're making will actually come back to the user.
The account holders. Wow. Well, we're gonna have to think through that one a lot. We're gonna probably have more questions about that. And you said it's 18 months away, you said?
We're looking at 12 to 18 months till we launch our exchange in a minimum viable product, as most things are at launch, and then we will build from there. It, of course, is going to depend a lot on finances and the income for the company after the launch of Debt Reaping and Ascension, and another surprise coming up.
Would it be smart to potentially accumulate, right? Like accumulate certain assets to be able to provide liquidity for?
Yes, so we are doing that through Ascension. So Reaper.Financial also has Ascension holdings and is going to be receiving the RAIN for those tokens that are hard slots, which have passed block auditing. And then that becomes our liquidity pool. And we are able to have basically a stage for those tokens to walk onto, and they don't have to provide anything to us.
Wow, that is just incredible. So if we can potentially hold and recompound, there'll be another feature to kind of walk those assets into a new world and do some additional leveraging with.
Yes.
He said, can you divulge any information about BitZero's acquisition of the pyramid, and are Reaper Finance involved at all? If so, how?
Through association, we are involved. However, we do not have a ownership interest in BitZero or the Nakoma pyramid. As many Reapers know, my oldest brother, who is Sean Riley, and currently the Chief Information Officer of North Dakota, he's transitioning into being the CEO of North Dakota or North America for BitZero, and that will be his primary site project is the Nakoma pyramid, which will be transitioning into a data center and potentially a Bitcoin mining and carbon negative site. So I do have a lot of information on that. I can't share too much due to NDA, but it will be of benefit to Reaper.Financial to have the connection to BitZero. And we do intend to use BitZero services to house our customers' financial information. So all identifiable financial information will be in a level 5 data bunker, and BitZero's level 5 data bunker will be one of 2 public level 5 data bunkers in the United States. So it will be very competitive and elite in the security of our data.
Wow. That's remarkable. That's remarkable. What's this Keyman insurance all about? Here's a question I was wondering. Does Reaper.Financial have Keyman insurance on Patrick?
So Keyman insurance is essentially that I'm important to the operation of the company. So I am looking at insurance policies with 5 Rings Financial, in which basically the Reaper token holders would be beneficiaries on that policy. And that is something that we are looking at potentially for an application of the permanent drip trust fund once we diversify that trust fund from its current holdings. However, I will say that although I am currently essential to this operation, I intend to make that as short-lived as possible. So I will be
Good for you.
looking after the automations of the process of reaping and Ascension, to ensure that we automate everything possible as soon as possible. And so that effectively, if I were to die in a plane crash or whatever it may be, the company and the token will continue to operate as it does now.
Hey, James, I think you missed something up there. It says that drip trust fund is a key. Is that something cryptic up there? What is that, Patrick?
So I don't think that's necessarily cryptic. So part of the Reaper model is a drip trust fund, and that drip trust fund basically only builds principal and pays out interest. So with every reaping and Ascension, there is a added amount to the permanent drip trust fund, and the interest is what is used for the drip. Currently, we're on a half permanent drip trust fund and half stimulus model, only because we're just getting started out.
You mentioned that because RPR is only tied to USDT and XRP, a market swing to the upside wouldn't significantly impact the asset. Can you explain why?
So a couple kind of corrections there on that. So USDC, not Tether. I won't touch Tether for reasons. USDC and XRP. So what that basically means is that if the market goes up for XRP, there is going to be some point where the price of Reaper is less than the cost of the relative XRP to the fund. So for example, if XRP hits $100 tomorrow and we have 100,000 XRP currently in the permanent drip trust fund, that means we have a $10 million XRP backing of RPR token. And if our market cap for RPR token were less than that, we would basically be undervalued, because if anything happened to the company and we were forced to shut down, the holders of RPR token are the beneficiaries of that permanent trust. And that means that $10 million of XRP goes to them. So basically there's a certain bottom to it, where if the RPR price is beneath that bottom, you're getting a deal on XRP. The permanent drip trust fund is the permanent fund of XRP and USDC that backs up the drip. So as the interest accrues off of that fund, the drip is what is paid out. Currently, the drip comes from the stimulus, and as the drip stimulus becomes less than the amount of interest produced by the permanent drip trust fund, the permanent drip trust fund takes over. And then that way it's a smooth transition, but it becomes at that point a predictable increase based off a predictable increase in principal.
Is there any plans, like let's say for instance XRP or Reaper, for instance, does go to like some astronomical number in the short term. Do you guys, I mean, is there plans to trade so that you can always save profit and then put that back into the company, or?
So the way the permanent drip trust fund works is that we will balance it periodically. So if, for example, XRP shot to where we have $10 million in the permanent drip trust fund, we could basically balance it, and then it needs to be 50% USDC and 50% XRP. So in that case, we would be selling half of the XRP, $5 million of USDC, $5 million of XRP. Then if, for example, XRP drops in price, we balance again. Now we are holding $3 million in USDC, and instead of the previous 100,000 XRP, now we might be holding 80,000, but we've pulled that money by balancing and keeping that at a 50-50 distribution.
Yeah, just like everything else, kind of working in tandem. Man, absolutely. It's all about life and death. It's all about balance, right? Everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all duality.
Yeah. What's the ideal scenario with Reaper and Ascension? Like, what would be the ideal scenario in the long term, in your view, in your perspective, from your perspective? What would be the ideal scenario for the ecosystem?
So for Reaper is going to be, once we turn on debt reaping, it becomes basically a real world impact token, because it's going to be affecting things in the physical world, which is your car, your house, so on and so forth, more so than it's going to be focused on the tokens and the cryptocurrencies and the things like that in the digital ecosystem. So that's where Ascension comes in. Ascension is the support of that digital ecosystem that I talk about in the block constitution. And Ascension will basically be the mirror to Reaper, where it will support the digital economy while Reaper supports the physical economy.
Can they get a look at that digital constitution, or is there like a specific date that will be public for people to view?
So that will be public on 3 December when we launch the block.
You know, people just coming into this space, reading stuff like that provides confidence and faith, and gives them the ability to kind of make better informed decisions. Like, I don't know how much you know about the Lobster wallet. I'm sure you're familiar with it. What's your take on some of that stuff going on?
So I personally have never used Lobster. My take is basically that I see what my community is saying about it, and I know there are people interested to use it, and for every person interested to use it, I've seen somebody else warning them off about the dangers of using it. That speaks pretty loudly to me, so I don't intend to explore it.
Yeah. Well, I have personal firsthand experience, because I, for about 4 months, played around in certain communities and, blindly followed recommendations, right? Because I was part of this certain community that, seized assets, whatever. And I blindly followed and put a lot of money into some of these assets and lost a whole lot of money very significantly. So when I hear people talking about Lobster, I cringe, and I right away am quick to just share my story, because I want people, I want to help people avoid losing money, right? Because in this space, unfortunately, there's a lot of trusting people, a lot of God-fearing Christians that are just coming, based off of cherry-picked verses that somebody was able to spit, and then now they feel comfortable, and I trust them. And so I like to bring that point up, because you can't trust everyone, and you have to do your own research. Like, this is not financial advice. None of us here are financial advisors, although Patrick is working in that direction. Even he is not a financial advisor, right? And so we have to be extremely cautious with everything we do, double, triple, and quadruple check. Patrick says the only portion of Reaper with any current plan to take on debt will be Fortify, using income properties with debt reaping from mortgages, though Fortify is a subsidiary and operates independently. What is Fortify, Patrick?
So Fortify Homes is a LLC out of, again, Austin, Texas. And Fortify will basically be a test bed for phase 5 of Reaper's phase-based white paper. So phase 5 is small business integration. So with Fortify, what we're going to be doing is buying up rental properties, income properties. And as we rent those properties out, there's going to be a base level of, emergency fund for things like roofs or washer dryer goes out, things like that. And then past that, the rent will go to paying the mortgage, and any difference between the mortgage and profit will go into Reaper token, which will be held in a specific account for that specific address, and it will reap the mortgage of that address. So that will effectively snowball the payments on that mortgage by creating a situation in which the amount being paid on the mortgage is greater every single month.
I think you said here, with debt reaping and future credit repair integration, I imagine many reapers becoming landlords in the future. The model is in many ways meant to support the rich dad, poor dad teachings of wealth accumulation.
Yes.
Yeah, do you have anything to say along those lines?
Yeah, so if you haven't ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad or listened to it in an audiobook, I highly recommend it. It is going to change the way that you think about debt and the way that you think about wealth accumulation. The majority of millionaires in the United States who were not born into money reached that level of wealth through real estate. And the way it works is essentially that you are using debt to find an asset that is cash flow. And when you have a cash flowing asset and you're able to use that cash flow to reduce the debt, you build equity. With those rental properties, you also deduct the depreciation of the property itself, right? So when you deduct that depreciation, your house might actually be worth $100,000 more in a year, but you're actually getting a big deduction for it. And if you're a Donald Trump fan or if you hate him, it doesn't really matter. He was very big on saying, I don't pay any more taxes than I need to. And Robert Kiyosaki would say, yeah, that's smart. The way these guys do that is through real estate. So debt reaping, because you're paying debt, it's a way to not avoid taxes, but use the system that was built for us to accumulate equity in a cash flow asset. So I by no means encourage anyone to use debt reaping to replace their debt payments. I want them to make their debt payments and use debt reaping to subsidize their debt payments, especially on something that would be a cash flow asset like an income property, because that is how you are going to build real wealth.
So do you have plans to be able to, like, say, for instance, somebody like myself, $50,000, $100,000, but I'm not really hip to all of these different cool little concepts. Is there plans to kind of train people to kind of help people walk through these kind of steps?
Yes, so we do plan on having a full page on our website once they're logged in, dedicated to education. And that will be in multiple different partnerships with other projects to educate both on cryptocurrency, but also on credit, as well as just general financial fitness.
Yeah, he says, hopefully Reaper community will be able to be involved in Fortify. The little guy middle class does not have access to benefit or be involved with income properties because they keep barriers to entry too high. Walled gardens keep us commoners out.
So the barrier to entry, generally speaking, is going to be your credit and your down payment, right? So first, I would say use debt reaping as the tool that it is to reduce your debt obligations. And through doing so, especially on your credit cards, your debt to income ratio, you're going to improve your credit. And then when you have your credit improved, you can build up a fund that you can use for your first down payment. Once you've made your first down payment and you begin debt reaping that income property, you'll find that you've broken out of that wall very quickly.
But like in the short term, how do you see the relationship between RPR and ASC developing?
So I think it's definitely interesting to watch. ASC at launch has maintained a relative price between 0.01 to 0.03 on the dollar, right? So that's much better than Reaper at launch. So I think ASC retained pretty good value for the airdrop, which is generally going to cause a significant drop in price. So from a price action standpoint, ASC has found what looks to be a bottom, not financial advice. And it has a open sky above it. So I'm interested to see what people and what the market will value it at. I of course have never set price for anything, and we've never done IPOs or pre-sales or anything of that nature. We allow the product performance and the utilities to be valued by the market.
Yeah, I think what we're doing here right now specifically will create more awareness and bring more attention. Like ultimately that's the goal, right? Because I'm baffled by how many people don't really know what's going on with this community. I mean, it's remarkable how much people don't know. Like especially with this Amicus Brief, this Amicus Brief that you guys just recently dropped.
Speaking of which, we want to go share my screen and show it.
Yeah, jump in real quick. But I just wanted to say, some of the large digital asset influencers in the XRP community, like, had no idea what Reaper is. So they definitely have no idea what Ascension is.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really hard to break out of a small community. So XRP itself is already less than 1% of the total cryptocurrency market cap or market in general. And then beyond that, you have the XRP ledger that's less than half of $1 billion for the entire XRP ledger, right? So we're almost a niche boutique inside of the XRP ledger, which is something that it will take some time to break out of that. And I think once the case concludes, that will help us to do so.
Yeah, and I think also when you guys have your own exchange, right? Because you're not really big on messing around with centralized exchanges, and I understand why. So when you guys have your own exchange, I think that's going to create it's remarkable how good the price of Reaper and Ascension have held with such a small. I mean, it's only on the DEX, really, right? Besides Bitro.
Yep, that's correct. And really, the centralized exchanges hurt projects more than they help them, generally speaking. Yeah. So the DEX has been perfectly acceptable for us, but our goal as we move forward to mass adoption is to encourage self-custodial wallets. So the exchange we are building will never hold any cryptocurrency, just as Uber doesn't own any cars.
I have another question. What about, do you guys have any plans to build your own wallet, or is that something that maybe somebody in the community should look into, maybe developing a tool for Reaper?
So there are potential for building our own wallet. However, right now XM does serve the purposes as needed. I do imagine that XM itself will continue to evolve, and if it becomes more user friendly, it may be completely unnecessary for us to build our own wallet. But if opportunity arises where we can create something that is more user-friendly to grandma or to grandpa who are simply not going to understand the complexities of the XM wallet, then that is something we would like to do.
Yeah, especially with the Riversticks thing in the works, I think it might be something. I mean, that could be a venture we should look into, boys. I mean, I'm just saying, you never know.
Not opposed to it.
So it looks like you guys got this in just in time. You got on November 9th. You want to go through the brief a little bit with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the date was tactical, as some people have probably noticed.
11/9. Yeah, think mirror. You don't say. Reaper.Financial's proposed brief is not duplicative or cumulative of prior Amici briefs, although multiple Amici briefs have been filed or have sought permission from the unit XRP for a purpose yet to be addressed by current Amici. Briefly, Reaper.Financial created its own native token, RPR, on the XRP ledger to serve as a decentralized voting mechanism through which Reaper Financial executes its purpose. Reaper Financial has no connection to Ripple Labs, and in fact, one of the primary functions of the company is to reduce the circulating supply of digital currency units by destroying them, aka burning them.
Yep, that's exactly it. And, so there wasn't really any of the amicus briefs that came from the XRP ledger until this one. In fact, a lot of people didn't even know there was an XRP ledger with tokens based on XRP. So this is something that was really a void in the case, was the acknowledgement of what could potentially be collateral damage to the SEC's malfeasance. So the way that we operate uses XRP as a product, and effectively in the same way that you would use any other disposable and consumable product.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, XRP ledger, right? Because it's oftentimes I'm talking to people, even, people just coming into our community, and they have no idea there's 7,000 plus assets traded on the XRP ledger. They think XRP is just XRP and that's it. No, it is a decentralized exchange. XRP is the native asset that lives on the XRP ledger, but there's 7,000 plus assets traded on it.
Absolutely.
So let's go down here a little bit. Hey, by the way, did you have a lot of input with Fred on this? How did that work out?
Yeah, so Fred and I have been working together for months. I think he joined our team in March or May of 2022. And it was after I had initially published an official position on behalf of the company. I published that position back in January of 2022, shortly after we launched. So, from the get-go with Reaper, we've made it a point that we aren't going to shy away from this subject, and that, Ripple's outcome in this case affects us very much, and it would affect all of the ledger. And it was important that a project on the ledger speaks up on behalf of the projects and on behalf of the utilities and use cases that are out there.
I think you even got a comment from David Schwartz, didn't you?
Yeah, so he was definitely referencing us, I believe, and he said it was interest. There's got to be a better way to learn about the interesting things projects are doing on the XRP ledger aside from reading amicus briefs.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Touche. I think it's when I saw that, I actually commented too, because I think it's crazy that he's one of the founding creators of the XRP ledger, and he has no idea what's really going on chain. So,
well, and I can sympathize. I mean, as you said, there's 7,000 on the XRP ledger, and there's 30,000 cryptocurrencies out there in total, and I probably am familiar with 100 to 200 of them, and I would say anyone that says they're very familiar with all of them is just lying. There's simply,
it's impossible to
make going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Anybody that guarantees anything, you got to be careful about. All right, anybody that guarantees anything, you have to be cautious with. That's a fact. What's the reference to the Ford? Where I mean, can we find that?
Yeah, and that was something from my original official position on behalf of the company, and that's basically that because we're able to buy these digital assets and destroy them, we burn them, they're permanently no longer existing, and it's a product. It's the same as if we were to buy a Ford Mustang. If I took my car and I light the thing on fire, aside from the police and firemen getting mad at me, it has absolutely nothing to do with Ford Motor Company. I haven't destroyed a part of Ford Motor Company. And what a lot of people forget when they say that XRP is a security is they're forgetting that a security is a portion of a company. And XRP cannot be a portion of the company because of the manner in which Reaper.Financial exercises and uses XRP.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that simple. It's a public good. It is property. Technically, it is property. It's a public good, open source, decentralized. The first decentralized exchange in the digital asset cryptocurrency world was the XRP ledger, and a lot of people don't know that.
That's a good point, and actually, I kind of wish I put that in this brief already.
Can you edit it, or no? It's too late.
I wish we could respond to the other amicus briefs that were on behalf of the SEC. That would be fun.
What's going on with that, by the way?
Oh, well, the first one was an absolute disaster, and to be honest, and a total embarrassment to the attorney that put it out. And I called him out on Twitter, and he responded to me. So I don't know if you caught that drama, but
I did. Yeah. I noticed that. Yeah.
And he also even wrote me privately to threaten a libel suit for pointing out the facts of how embarrassing his submission really was. That was very emotional.
Didn't you think it was like a parody or something like that? Is that
I honestly did. I thought maybe this was like the Ligma Johnson guys getting fired from Twitter, where somebody put him up to it, and he was making a joke.
that was pretty funny.
He really did such an awful job. I have a hard time believing it's an actual accredited legal professional that submitted it. It's mind-blowing that he put this in front of a federal judge.
I think he admitted that he was extremely emotional when he did it.
It was total amateur hour. And the other one that submitted an amici brief on behalf of the NEIS, as my attorney Fred Rispoli pointed out, there is significant conflicts of interest, to include the SEC suing them back in September of 2019, and the case was pushed out to late 2023. So for this organization that admits by their own amicus brief that they have no part in cryptocurrency or cryptocurrency economy, to submit a brief in favor of the SEC while under scrutiny and being sued by the SEC, it just reeks of corruption. And I don't know how the judge could look at this and not throw it out and throw the SEC in contempt of court. This is very clearly and obviously, a arm twisting, leverage position that this company was put in a position to submit this by the SEC, whereas Reaper.Financial has had no coordination with Ripple Labs whatsoever. It's a big thing to say it out loud like that the SEC has clearly committed corruption and fraud right here with the NEIS, or NSCI or whatever it is. But we're not stupid, and they're insulting everyone's intelligence.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the judge has been extremely fair to all parties, and it's evident. If you read through it, it's evident that there's something behind that. And so I have faith, right? Especially Reaper being the 13th amicus brief in this process. 13 Reaper. I mean, it's just so symbolic of the dominoes about to begin folding, right? Especially after what's going on with the Sam Bankman-Fried situation. That's a whole nother oh my goodness.
Yeah, so the Sam Bankman-Fried situation is not only is it a mess, but it's again a corruption mess in which there was likely a lot of money that went through FTX into hands that had nothing to do with FTX, and it looks like it may well have been a money laundering operation, and that of course will come out, and sunshine is the best disinfectant, and I hope that the truth of that situation will become apparent for all to see.
Yeah, because Gary Gensler had him on his calendar several times.
Yeah, and then he jumped on CS or CNBC. Yeah, and then he was trying to kind of like, sugarcoat the doo-doo. He was trying to sugarcoat it. Come on, man. At this stage of the game, this is one thing about the XRP community. Since day one, they've been sleuths. They've been on the job, right? And so you can't say something and not expect 15,000 people to go triple check what you're talking about. And sure enough, that's what's happened throughout the whole entire process. And that's the one great thing about social media, right? I mean, it can be very toxic, but I mean, for reasons like this, there's been so much evidence that is surfaced.
And that's the thing I love about decentralized intelligence agencies.
Yeah. Decentralized intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
First time I've heard that.
Like decentralized justice.
Well, I say that because, there's, of course, a lot of things that have happened over the last couple of years that have included intelligence networks. And, I've been intelligence adjacent in the United States government and military. And, to put that in perspective, the United States military has in the Army 450,000 active duty, right? And of that, maybe only 30,000 to 50,000 involved in any kind of way with the intelligence community. And of that, maybe 15,000 actual operators that understand things that are going on. And that's very compartmentalized and it's very restricted.
Yeah.
And if you compare that with the internet communities that have, between 2 million to 20 million members, depending on which community you're talking about, they're going to go out and research things. And let's say 90% of what they come up with is completely bogus and it's wrong. 10% of what they came up with is still significantly more accurate information than the intelligence network of a military organization or a government organization, because you have so many people contributing to it. So while a lot of people like to dismiss that the internet sleuths, as it were, there's a lot of accurate information coming from those internet sleuths.
Yeah. Confirmation after confirmation. That's part of the reason why I've been able to get up to speed on so much, because I've learned how to use discernment and decipher through a lot of the misinformation and disinformation. Right. So yeah, no doubt. I concur and I agree with you. Let me ask you a quick question. Can you just do me a favor and go through the first year of achieved successes for Reaper.Financial and what the next year looks like?
So we move pretty fast, right? So we launched in December of last year. December 19th, we did our airdrop. We had 70,000 trust lines. We got them all out by the 21st of December. We did our first reaping January 1st. It was, a single individual token winning a Twitter poll, which was Xquake back at the time. And that was, it was fireworks, right? And we had our blockchain voting mechanism up by January 13th. The working blockchain voting mechanism we've been using ever since without fault. And so that one turned the second reaping into a blockchain vote, which was still just one token. From there, we broke it down into multiple votes per month and multiple tokens winning. And by late February, we launched the drip and we're able to send XRP to all of our token holders, which was, an added programming implement on the XRP ledger that had not yet been done, sending one token to the holders of other tokens based on a snapshot. So we really kind of pioneered that in the space, which now almost every project is using in some form or fashion.
Nice.
By I think March, we had our merchandise up and running. We did send a individual off to do a reality TV show that he was on, and Reaper.Financial did win most valuable. The individual won most annoying, and he's been fired since. But that's kind of the point. We've really been nonstop between our NFTs with utility that are the highest utility of any NFT out there.
By far.
By far.
Yeah.
into our drips to now Ascension launching. There's just so much, partnership with the American Blockchain Pack, doing a fundraiser on their behalf. We raised $23,000 in a 24-hour marathon. We got a funny Donald to eat a one chip challenge. That was good. That's probably the highlight achievement. But, yeah, so just so much over the last year, and really
a lot of success for sure. Yeah.
And I really just don't. I don't stop to measure where I came from. I'm really more worried about where it's going, right? Yeah. So in the next month, we're going to be launching our beta on debt reaping, and we also have Ascension. We have another surprise coming up before the end of the year for everybody, and then we're going to move into January when we've got this case is going to be one of the focuses, along with phase 5. Phase 5 going after small businesses. So we'll be launching Reaper.Financial Fundamentals, which will basically be a corporate training course where we'll be training small teams to go out and talk one-on-one with small business owners with, a full breakdown, 30-page corporate pamphlet kind of thing, and sit down with them and explain the exact benefits of how this system works and how it can help protect their business from, a financial downturn. And then we go from there into looking at banks, and we have a target list to put that out there. So we have a target list of acquisitions. We're watching the markets. We're watching for vulnerabilities in credit unions to acquire a bank. At the same time, BitZero will have launched officially at Nakoma back in December 2nd. So we'll have transitioned into a more structured partnership with them. Hopefully, I'm going to say hopefully because nothing's in paper yet.
Right.
And with that, we'll start to build our exchange simultaneous to all of this. And our exchange is going to take a little bit of time, and the time it takes is dependent largely on funding. So if we're very successful based off of debt reaping, Ascension, our other products, Fortify, we may be able to accelerate it. Our exchange is not anything that can't be done with current systems and tools.
Amen. Very exciting. Very exciting. We just 1 hour and 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. How about that 1-3 again for you?
Went by quick.
1-3. Yeah, Patrick, it's always a pleasure having you on. I love chatting with you. Great vibes. I look forward to sitting down with you every week and kind of bringing people up to speed, and then also bringing on each Hard Slot project and digging deeper with them as well. I think it's essential for us to bring as much education, awareness, information to people who want to learn. And there are plenty of people out there that want to learn. It's just the resources are sometimes tainted with shills and other people trying to force and sell. This is not financial advice, nor are we financial advisors, but this is the beginning of an incredible journey. So Patrick, we honor you and we appreciate you every step of the way.
Thank you, James.
Thank you both for your service too. BlackHawk, Patrick, thank you. And we'll go out the same way we came in. How's that?
Peace and blessings, everyone.